Now, our next myth. You're innocent until proven guilty. That is, your life, liberty, property cannot be taken from you unless you're convicted of a crime. Now, that's not entirely a myth. It's still largely true when it comes to your life and liberty. But your property? If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, forget about it. Ever gone to a police auction or one of those government surplus auctions? We consumer reporters always tell people, correctly, that these are great places to find a bargain.
Plenty of good deals here.
People can buy bikes for $10, cars for less than $500.
From flat screen TVs to Rolex watches to over 20 boats, you name it, they've got it.
But where did they get it? Some is abandoned property or property taken from someone convicted of a crime. But some of it I would just call loot that the cops grab. Take the Chevy Silverado that used to belong to Zahir El Ali. Ali's repaired houses and cars in Houston for 30 years. He fixes them up and then sells them. But then he sold a truck like that one to a man on credit. Ali held the title to the car until he was paid, but he never was paid in full because the buyer drove drunk and then got arrested. The cops then seized Ali's truck and kept it. They planned to sell it. Ali can't believe it.
Look, I own the truck. The truck done nothing. This is my money. Why are you taking my money?
The police say it's their right under the forfeiture law because the person driving the car that day broke the law.
I have never seen a truck drink and drive. Every day, I mean, it drink gasoline and that's about it, but it will not drive until I drive it. I don't think it's the fault of the truck, and they know better.
I wouldn't think it's the fault of the truck. Here to explain how this works is Ali's lawyer, Scott Bullock. He's with the Institute for Justice. Also from Reason Magazine is Radley Balco. So why isn't it his truck? Somebody drove drunk. He didn't.
That's exactly right. It should be his truck. It is his truck, but under this bizarre legal fiction called civil forfeiture, the government can take your property, including your home, your car, your cash, regardless of whether or not you are convicted of a crime. It's led to horrible abuses like the abuse in Houston, where you have a wholly innocent property owner swept up in these forfeiture proceedings.
And it almost sounds like a gimmick where the authorities get to grab stuff.
Well, yes, and one of the main reasons why they do this and why they love civil forfeiture is because in Texas and over 40 states and at the federal level, police and prosecutors get to keep all or most of the property that they seize for their own use, so they can use it to improve their offices, buy better equipment. In some states like Texas, even pay their own salaries with this forfeited property.
Which gives them a big temptation to take stuff. Your law firm has made this cartoon that tries to explain how this system works. Let's just take a look at that.
If police suspect that you committed a crime, they can arrest you and put you on trial. At that trial, prosecutors must prove you are guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But if police suspect your car was involved in a crime, they can take it, sell it, and in most places, pocket the proceeds to pad their budgets. They need not prove you committed any crime. With civil forfeiture, your property is guilty until you prove it innocent to get it back. Carrying too much cash? Police can accuse you of selling drugs or laundering money and seize it. No
seize
conviction.
it without ever taking you to court. And police departments around the country have discovered this is a really good way to raise money.
In 1986, the Justice Department's forfeiture fund took in $94 million. Now, it has more than $1 billion.
So with budget cuts coming, this must be very tempting for the police.
Well, it is tempting, and there are lots of crazy stories about what they do with this money when they have it. There's a district attorney's office in Texas, for example, that used forfeiture money to buy an office margarita machine that won first place at a county fair in a margarita competition. There's another district attorney in Texas who used forfeiture money to take a junket to Hawaii for a conference on asset forfeiture.
And I understand that he was asked, how could you possibly do this? And he said...
His response was, well, a judge signed off on it, so it's okay. They found out later that the judge that signed off on it actually went with him on the junket to Hawaii.
And where's the public outrage?
Well, the public, when they learn about civil forfeiture, is outraged about it. People in this country should not lose their property without being convicted of a crime, and we certainly should not have this perverse incentive system in place for police and prosecutors.
The Georgia DA told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution that the spending was intended to boost morale.
They have to justify how they spend the money somehow, so this morale argument allows them
Football tickets and $89 for a red cape with the word super lawyer on the back.
Well, if I got to wear a cape around that said super journalist on the back, I think it would boost my morale as well.
Any other examples you want to share?
Well, one of the stories I wrote about in Indiana, in this case, the guy actually produced a letter from a law firm saying he earned this money legitimately. Well, didn't earn it. He got it in a settlement from a car accident. And they actually said the state's argument in court was that, well, you know, maybe this money that we found on him when we pulled him over, maybe he didn't get it from selling drugs, but he might use that money to buy drugs at some point in the future. Therefore, we're still allowed to take it from him.
That sounds like that movie that predicts future crime.
Minority Report. That's right. Yeah, they're punishing for a crime, punishing him for a crime that he hasn't committed yet.
When you give people the wrong incentives, people respond accordingly. And so it shouldn't be surprising that they're stretching the definition of law enforcement. But the fundamental point is you should not have people who are out there enforcing the laws benefiting directly from them. Police and prosecutors are supposed to be about the fair and impartial administration of justice, not about the pursuit of property. And that's the major problem with civil forfeiture laws, and that's the thing that really has to change.
Thank you very much, Scott Bullock, Radley Balco.